want to talk a bit about music in the sense that like, because I'm so curious about how you pick your projects, when you finally got to a point, because I know you've worked with Ron Moore a lot, when you got to a point where your reputation started to allow you to, I guess, choose more freely or sort of go after the projects and really like be competitive. I would imagine that at a certain point you were super competitive with your peers, and they were like, so, you know, like for myself, I know that there was a moment where I got to start choosing what I wanted to go after instead of having to take everything that came my way. How do you choose?
I found that was a difficult transition for me. I took on everything for a long time and got initially overextended. And then I found, you know, one of the things that I've done, I mean, the headline is, right, I'm very fortunate to be offered a lot of projects that I want to do.
Of course.
So it's less about, you know, how do I choose, but it's like, what can I offer to be involved? So what I've started over the last few years, over the last 15 years, I've built up a group of people around me that help me writing minutes, that help me with every aspect of music production, that help me with tech, that help me with administration, picture editing. I mean, everything. I've got a little cadre of say 15 or 20 people around me at all times.
Awesome.
And a couple of years ago, I realized, you know, the smart thing to do here, the stratification is now so wide between my involvement at its most and at its least, that I wanted to actually acknowledge it. So I started a few years ago shifting a lot of my credits, and I started talking with all my closest showrunners, and then I started with people that would come with me for new jobs. And I said, look, what I want to do is say themes by Bear McCreary, music by Sparks and Shadows. That's my studio.
Yeah.
Like a band. It's like a band.
Yeah. Well, you're becoming like a production company, like your own production company, and
It's very much that. And I would sort of cite Stan Winston a lot, where I go, you know, he wasn't painting every light bulb on the Terminator model himself. You wouldn't want him to do that. And similarly, you know, my involvement is I want to craft the themes. I want to be your point of contact. You've got my number if anything goes wrong, but I'm leading the charge, crafting the themes, having those creative discussions. But also, it's a huge advantage if my group of people, and I assign them to your show. So it's like, this person is my number 2, this person's my number 3. It's like a little kind of army, right?
Yeah.
They're writing cues for you while we're in the broader creative discussion. And the vast majority, numerically speaking, of my credits are that now. Most of my credits don't say music by Bear McCreary.
Yeah.
The ones that do, that means something very specific. And ultimately, this really kicked into gear when I got The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. When I got that and I wrote every cue myself, which I did for the majority of Battlestar, the first few seasons, I was so proud of that. And I thought, you know, if I have 7 other shows on the air that all say music by Bear McCreary, it dilutes the work that I did, and I'm taking away from the work that my team is doing. There's an amount of sort of suspension of disbelief that's implausible, right? Like, how is one person doing all of this?
Yeah.
And so I have found what's great about that is I can be way more upfront about what I'm excited about. So on Lord of the Rings, I'm writing every cue. On Serpent Queen, I'm crafting the themes, and my team is supporting. And then the showrunners know this, and my number 2 and number 3 become part of the creative conversation. We did that on Percy Jackson and the Olympians for Disney Plus, which was a big show.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it's almost like amazing that Disney let us do that. But it was for the benefit of everybody. And I'm so proud of that score, and I'm so proud of the themes that I wrote. But, you know, to answer your question, like, I might have had to turn that down, right? Because it's like, I just can't, even if I have somebody else writing a lot of this music, I can't be on every Zoom with you. I can't be on every spotting session, like at a certain point. But if you understand that, and you know who understands that, Katee? Showrunners.
Showrunners,
right?
Because they get it. They get it because that's why we have writers' rooms. It's why you've got like a head writer and then a team. You have to, you basically are surrounding yourselves with a group of people that have allowed you to clone yourself, and you make your clone yourself and make yourself on, this guy's better with this woman's better with this person's better with this is this. So you're making different versions of yourself to then come together and create one, Megatron.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah. That, back in the day, and I mean like the Leonardo da Vinci day, there would be a studio that he or, his mentor Verrocchio would run. And there would be somebody in the studio that's like the hands. That person does hands, right? And they would actually kind of specialize. They did the same thing. And ultimately what I found, it was this tidal wave of positivity that came into my life, because here's what happened. It was like there's this credit and enthusiasm for the show, and now I am sharing it both privately and publicly with the people that are helping me, this group, Sparks and Shadows. But it's like the old cliche about love, right? Like you share it, you don't lose it. You gain it and the other people get it. It's like, and I found that, I think the thing that even prevented me from doing this was twofold. One, insecurity, like you're afraid to do it. But two, it's just not the industry norm. And God forbid you go against the industry norm, right? Well, that became my pitch, right? My pitch was also like, this is the way I'm doing things now. And if you want me on your show, this is how we're going to do it. But also, this is the way I think more people will do it. And it's the right way to do it. But it's not necessarily the way it shouldn't be done. I just said this to my dad the other day. He's like, don't recreate the wheel, Katee. This is just the way it's done. It'll be successful if you do it this way. And I said, yes, but I will be bored. Yes. And I don't want to be bored. My time is worth more. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's done one way doesn't mean that that's fulfilling and that's the way it should be done. It's just the way that it's done, Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been, in terms of choosing, that is what changed, because now there are, and somebody comes to me with a project, I can be very upfront, even in the initial meeting. For features, it's often like, look, my schedule at that time is available. So like, yeah, I'm going to do this. My team will, help support, just so that if I get hit by a bus, your movie gets done. You want this. Okay. Exactly. You need this. Like on exactly. On a show, I'm often upfront that look, there's a huge advantage to having 2 or 3 people master the sound of the show, so that we can make swift changes. And it doesn't matter what your dub schedule is. You want to have amazing music delivered on time. So for this one, I might say, let's do, it becomes a little credit question. Ultimately, just like, that's how I would credit it, Yeah. And I found that has been great, because it's not just about choosing projects in the film and video game and television scoring world. I have been freeing up more and more bandwidth for my own creative life, so that I am a happier person. And that has made a huge difference in my life. And in a way, one of the other reasons that I thought, look, I want this Sparks and Shadows thing to start to take off and have a life of its own, because ideally, I want to start spending a few months every year playing the Singularity in tours and collaborating with more artists in the rock and pop space. And I'm not stepping away from film scoring, but that pie has got to get bigger, because I want pieces of it to be other things. And you've made it possible for yourself to step away. That's that is what business, successful business owners thrive for, is to get a business so successful that they can go on vacation and they don't have to worry about the ship sinking. You know what I mean?